Tonight on the Buddy Martin Show, it's game week. We're going to be talking UF, Miami,
Week 0.
David Whitley and Rob Brown tonight on the Buddy Martin Show.
Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you guys punch subscribe at the bottom, and I'll put up a QR code. Sorry, I see too many buttons. I'll put that up there, and then I screwed up your whole show. I'm sorry, it's on me. We'll go. We'll be right back. Go. See? Buttons everywhere. Let's go.
Or Buddy Martin, call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening. This is the Buddy Martin Show. I'm your host, Lauren Meadows, and it's game week. And, big games going on. We got UF, Miami, the start of college football, and we welcome in David Whitley from the Gainesville Sun, our man, Buddy Martin, and our executive producer, Brendan Martin. Hit the like and subscribe button, and we got the QR code for you, and just ready to roll. It's football season, guys. We want to say good night, good evening to Tommy Seal, Dan Bond, Becky Carlisle, David Aronoff, Michael Burton, Toby Permeter. And just here it is, guys. Football season is on us. We had week 0. We can kind of glance at that. It was kind of, hilarious in some ways with the Florida State Seminoles going about 5,000 miles away from home to take that L. But, really right now it's all about UF and Miami. So how you doing, Mr. Whitley? How you guys doing?
Fine. I think we should note that FSU is still winless on European soil.
There it is. Absolutely. So
David,
best way to
I think
start
the
a
whole
show.
ACC might still be winless. I'm not sure. Got to check.
No, SMU. SMU brought it home. And
they did?
Georgia
Okay.
Tech,
Right.
Georgia Tech got a win against Florida State, and then SMU brought it home for the
SMU
ACC. So
yeah, I don't know. Is the SEC? What is their record on European soil? 0-0? I can't.
I'm not sure. I would say you might have to. I don't think we've ever as a conference crossed the pond at all. So.
Well, if we did. We would invade them like D-Day.
Absolutely. So, David, you were at the press conference yesterday, correct?
I was. They moved it to the virtual reality room because they were having a big coaches of all sports meeting in there. So the virtual reality room is a good spot for about 5 or 6 people to gather. Not 25, but we made it work.
Okay.
And there's enough room for Billy and Graham Mertz and Jason Marshall to get up there and give us one last taste of what might be. Well, actually, there's one more taste tomorrow with Billy, who hopefully will, answer the few lingering questions that are still out there, like if they've settled on the offensive line yet, and any last minute injury type of stuff that might still be out there. But other than that, pretty much there's not much more to ask at this point. As they say, the old hay better be in the barn. Absolutely.
So, David, in your opinion, where do you think this thing is as far as the Florida Gators are concerned? Some people are saying this is a make or break year. Billy, needs to definitely win this game, or the ball might start rolling down the hill a lot faster. Based on what you observed at the press conference, is he feeling any type of heat, or what are you hearing? Where do you think this thing is going?
Yeah, he's the same Billy that he's been for since day one, and the same Billy that I remember after, spring practice. He hadn't changed his tone. and the whole attitude that I think he's very quietly confident in this team. He thinks they're going to do better than people expect. As to hot seat stuff and all that, this is why I'm glad the season's finally here, because I'm tired of reading hot seat stories. I'm tired of reading 5 burning question stories. I'm tired of reading lists that you just have to concoct to keep things going without any actual stuff to write about, any game stuff, any real meat to sink your teeth into. So now we get to see. And, from day one, I always thought that he needed 3 years. Any coach needs at least 3 years before you can give an accurate verdict on where it's going, or even, and even though he's got, a 6-year contract, by year 3, it's time, and so we have 2 years in the books. The jury is still out. By the end of year 3, we will know, so in that sense, I think it is make or break, because it's not, the roster it's a time to get flipped, time to get the culture in, time for all these things we've been waiting to happen to start blossoming this year. Now, will they? I don't know, but I think that the we got to give him time thing is, this is it. This is year 3. So, and after year 3, I think, because everybody who's I've talked to who's been irate says we got to get rid of him, blah 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 blah. I said no, it says I don't think it's fair to make any firm judgment like that till he's had 3 years to do this. And so here it is. Certainly anybody who says he's going to be fired if he loses this game, they're so out of touch that they might as well be in another universe. Although funny, one of the guys who covers the beat said he got a call from someone writing a story for a national publication asking, and he asked in all seriousness, he says, "Hey, if they lose Saturday night, do you think Billy get fired?" And I'm like, no, I maybe if they lose 100-0, I think he might, but no, he won't get fired. It'll take some, a lot of the preseason air out of things, but I think there's been too much emphasis placed on this game, and that's not to say that there shouldn't be a lot of emphasis placed on it, because for all the reasons we know, it's huge, but it's there are 11 more after this, and I've seen too many teams that laid an egg in the first game, and by the end of the year, not that nobody remembered it, but it was inconsequential. So say they lose to Miami, then they come back and beat Sanford, beat A&M, and beat Mississippi State. They're 3-1. People would take 3-1 coming out of September, and they go, all right, well, the Miami game wasn't the end of the world like we thought. So I don't think it's a must win. What it is, I think, is that they can't play poorly. Even if they lose, they have to give people a reason to be optimistic about what lies ahead.
Absolutely.
Hey, Lauren, can I ask a question?
No, I was going to ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead first.
Buddy, you've kind of written in your last couple of articles, you wrote about like that, I'm with Billy and where, you kind of feel like things are on the upward swing. So I just wanted to, what have you seen and what have you heard that kind of makes you feel that way, that things are, and you said I think you guessed even maybe 9-3, 8-4. You kind of prognosticated that that's where you think this team could be. So, based on some of the questions that are coming in, what have you seen and what gives you, based on your experience and things like that, you feel like that the Gators are on their upward climb?
Well, first of all, you did a great job at what you're doing hosting your show tonight.
I appreciate it.
I've got to go take a little break here in just a minute and come back and tell you about my sponsors. But let me get it. I have a couple things to ask you. I'm really having a hard time making the decision about this game. Is it blue or is it white? I don't know what I'm confused. I don't know what to do.
That's neither here nor there when the pads start popping.
And then the other thing was, I check out my schedule again to see Florida opens on Saturday. Are they playing Alabama or are they playing Georgia? I don't know which one it is.
Playing Miami Hurricanes.
Oh, they are? Well, I didn't know that because if they talked about this team like they're Alabama or Georgia. So I was confused about that.
Right.
So, and the other thing is that all these so-called, I trust the people, the guys in the desert. They know their stuff. But you're a football guy, Lauren, and David knows a little about the game. If somebody's going to assess a team for you, give you a scouting report, who would you want to be?
I want to be people that know the game and have been around the game and maybe coached the game or played the game.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I mean, and that's the rub, you know, we could talk about that, is the fact that they build those buildings because they guess right in Vegas quite a bit. But
and sometimes guys that coach and play aren't good at that.
Right. But if you look at 2.5 point spread,
exactly.
It's really pretty much a push. And I think you have two evenly matched teams. And, you know, we're going to talk about the rosters a little bit more, you know, in depth, you know, some of the matchups, what we expect. But, you know, I'm one of those people that, you know, I mean, you got to go with, you know, I mean, it's how you look at it. You know, I mean, you know, we've talked about it. I'm a person that I think the receiver room at Florida is always solid just based on who's coaching them. And I think you would agree with that. But everybody else doesn't feel that way. So I think right now, before you get the pass popping, it's almost like, you know, like David said, we're at the end of talking season, and sooner or later it's going to be, you know, it's going to be show up time. But, you know, like I said, I think you've expounded on, you know, where you think this team could be. You know, you seem to be kind of feeling like that this is one that the Gators are going to get.
Well, I'm going to say this and duck out of here, unless Brendan wants me to do a spot while I'm here. But you guys, I want to hear what you and David got to say, and Rob's waiting. And I just say that, look, if you go and look at these evaluations, the evals, most are done by some kind of formula, right? And these stories are put out by bots, you know, that when it's algorithms and stuff. And so the algorithm is written already, and basically it's written on what they did last year. And it has the information from other people's evaluations that are basically, I wouldn't say any better than mine. I'm not that good at it. And so I just don't trust the idea. Now, I'm no oracle, but I can say maybe 4 or 5 times in my lifetime, maybe more, I've seen games where the lines were just wrong. And even I'm not that good at picking games. Even I knew they were wrong. I said, this is the wrong line. And I think this is the wrong line. Now, I could be underestimating Miami, and I haven't seen that much of them. I'll admit Cam Ward comes to recommended, but when did he get to be Peyton Manning? You know, exactly. So somebody's somehow convinced the guys in Vegas that Miami's got a good team and they're loaded. They got a defensive line. Same guys convinced them that FSU had a really good defensive line too. So I'm just saying, consider the possibility this is just a wrong line. At worst, it's an even game. At worst. And when you talk about giving points to the opponent, get to the Gators in the swamp, are you crazy? And the last thing I'm going to say is that, talking to Shane this morning on his show, is that the helmet communication issues, if you go back, and I think Franz brought this up tonight, you look at what the problems they had in the FSU game and Tech game, hearing what they were saying. It's a new device. Can you imagine trying to hear it in a swamp with 93,000 screaming fans, which Billy, by the way, is who he was trying to incite by inviting them to create havoc and what have you. So I think there's a lot of things at play there. I'd like to hear you guys talk about it. I'm going to say I think if I would probably be on the positive side of Florida right now. I picked the score today. I just pulled it out of a hat because Shane asked me to. I don't like to pick it this early, but I picked it 27-20 Florida. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm going to let you guys go. And Brendan, you tell me if you want me to do that spot now or later.
Spot it up, dude. Go, spot.
I want to tell you about the sponsors, all of them. I want to tell you about the sponsors we have on this show, and they're very proud to have Lauren co-hosting, and David, of course, is regular. Our friends at TitanMRI.com, you know what they do. They make it a special experience for you if you need some kind of a MRI. This is a place for you because they'll give you a custom-made appointment. They'll take care of your needs, and you'll love what they do for sure. TitanMRI.com. Also, our friends at WinStar Medical Research. doing great things in the Ocala area for a long time. My friend Scott Brantley and Mary Brantley, excuse me, and Joe Sorrentino. Check them out. They want you to volunteer for some of their studies, clinical studies. And finally, here's my guy. It's going to be a happy birthday Sunday for Jeffrey Meldon. And we had a chance to talk to Jeffrey about that. Check it out.
I was with Jeffrey his last birthday last year. He was enjoying himself in Park City, Utah. He had a really good birthday.
We got a message from Jeremy right here, please. Go ahead, Brendan. Fire it.
Yeah.
Happy birthday in advance. Jeffrey's finally going to hit 50. He's been all these years. He's finally going to get to 50 years old. He misspent you for the first 49. Now he's going to make it right.
That's right. Hey, you're absolutely right, buddy. I'm 50 in my own mind.
That's all that matters, man.
And you too.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking I'm 55, maybe, or maybe 60. But listen, happy birthday on that. Now, let's get down to business. Meldon Law doesn't mess around. You did something terrific for the Florida band, man. Tell me about it.
Well, about 3 years ago, our dear friend Freddie Wiebe comes to us and said, the University of Florida won't buy the band a box truck to move their equipment around in. And when they go to Florida State, they go to Jacksonville or whatever, they don't have any, they have to rent trucks and stuff like that. So we collaborated and we put together a deal where we provided them a beautiful big box truck, and we wrapped it and with Meldon Law and the UF band. And by the way, the UF band was voted the best band in the country in August of 2023.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you hear about Ohio State.
Yeah.
And they're wonderful and all, but the UF band is exceptional. Jay Watkins, the director, does a great job. So anyhow, we went from the box truck to doing that commercial with me. Jeffrey wants to play in the band, right?
Yes.
So, and that's maybe my favorite commercial.
Made you very big too. But I think that and the tango maybe probably did you more good than anything.
Well, Freddie and I are working on our follow up to.
I hate to think about somebody scale Mount Everest or something.
I mean, really, what I want to do is have a real life band playing for a Gator game.
Yeah.
Playing Tom Petty's Won't Back Down, and have my son and I run out of the tunnel and wave to everybody.
That's it, guys. Have a good one. I'm out of here. Looking forward to hearing you on the show.
Meldon Law, we won't back down. So here we are, guys. UF Miami. And, you know, I mean, it's one of those things. We're going to say hello to Rob Brown. How you doing, Rob?
Doing good. Just listening to y'all's comments. And I got some things I'll throw at you when it's time, but it is, you're right. It's time to hit somebody else besides beating up on yourself.
Absolutely. So UF Miami, I mean, you know, we talk about the rosters. Buddy alluded to it. I mean, it's 17th ranked team in the country. When you look at the rosters, David, I know you've talked about it a little bit, you know, some of the things up front that you think could, you know, with the defensive line that Miami has could cause them some problems. Is this a team that is, you know, a dominant force that could really, you know, play into, you know, really forcing some action, you know, up front with Florida? Or is it just kind of one of those things where, you know, it's the ACC versus the SEC, and this retooled offensive line will kind of find its balance and be able to handle that Miami front?
You know, the guys they bought in on the transfer portal, or, you know, it's pretty impressive what Mario has done. He's always been able to recruit. You know, whether it translates onto the field, we don't know. But I mean, there's no question that I think that the first unit of Miami offense and defense can play in any league, and I think that, you know, it's cliche to say that it come down to the line of scrimmage and the trenches and all like that, but I truly think it does in this game, because if they're, you know, the big question mark with the Gators is like last year, I think, with offensive line. You know, like you said, plenty of promise, but not much production yet. And if that promise comes to fruition, it'll be okay. But I'm still in I think, not that I'm skeptical. I'm just in a wait and see mode, and we'll think about Miami. We'll find out fast. I think that starting 22, that the talent is good. That Miami may be slightly more talented, and that's balanced out by the Swamp. I think the Swamp. I think is going to be worth 7 points to Florida, so I think it is a toss up game.
All right, and when we talk about the defensive line, we're talking about guys like Ruben Bain, Hakeem Mesidor. You got C.J. Clark, who's a transfer from NC State, and Marley Cook, who came from Middle Tennessee. And those guys have been getting a lot of fanfare. You also have Francisco Moeaga at the middle linebacker spot, and these are guys that could be household names by the end of this football game. But it's a retooled offensive line. I think the move with Damian George down inside, should help this group. Brandon Crenshaw Dixon at right tackle, and Austin Barber now healthy at left, and it looks like it's going to be Najee Harris at the left guard, and then obviously Jake Slaughter, who pretty much played center the entire year last year. So even though he wasn't necessarily a starter, started 8 of 12 games there. So that's going to be the matchup is that group in the trenches for sure. So before we kind of talk about defense versus offense, Rob, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, Buddy made that point. The media has this; they have a love affair with Mario Cristobal and what he did as a recruiter at Alabama, working for Nick Saban. Okay, so I'm not saying Miami's not good. They brought in this guy Martinez from Oregon State, the running back. He's a load. That's right. What your the viewers are saying. But Florida, this is so important because look at year 3. How long did it take Lane Kiffin to fix that train wreck dumpster fire that was Ole Miss football? I mean, 2021, he had a 10-win season. Last year, they won 11. Now, who has more resources? Florida? Ole Miss. I think back, Pat Dye took over Auburn. At the height of Bear Bryant, he was. If they played a game in Memphis, they stayed at the Rivermont on the Mississippi River so Coach Bryant could walk on water in the morning before breakfast. The second year, Dye closed an epic talent gap and beat Alabama. So if you're looking at Florida, and my view on this game, it's huge because it's a tempo setter. Florida lacks for nothing. I mean, Jeffrey Meldon, how many schools have boosters? Okay, hey, here's a band for it. What an awesome sponsor. You need more people like Jeffrey Meldon. But I still think Florida wins this game. Mertz has a year of the SEC under his belt. Cam Ward played in the 7-on-7 league, the Pac-12 last year. I just think the line of scrimmage, the defense for Florida will be able to do it. And I like Mertz's comfort level. And David Whitley's right. The Swamp's worth a touchdown, so I'll give it to him. But you know what? I watched Ole Miss. They got over 11,000 people in their Grove collectives. I don't know how many people are in the collective at Florida, but you don't want to change coaches every few years. But you can say this. You like Florida, desperate at home in front of that crowd, the Swamp, and that's a horrible place to play as a visiting team. So I'll take the Gators to win. I like Mertz. I think he's a smarter quarterback, and I think he's going to make better decisions.
And I saved the best for last. I'm going to come to my executive producer down there because I see you kind of chopping at the bit a little bit.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, Brendan, you guys, first of all, as a producer, you make really shitty TV by just all agreeing, first of all. Let's just start there, okay?
But no,
mix it up a little bit.
But let me.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying no.
Last because I want to get your thoughts because this has been an ongoing conversation between you and I, really for about a calendar year, and here we are.
Be over a year, sir. Over.
Yeah, but literally for over a year, we've kind of been discussing this, and your thought, I think I think you understand that the roster is better, the roster is improved.
Yeah.
But the skepticism, and I think, when you get down to it, is that on paper, yes, this game with the resources, the roster, what they have on the perimeter, all those things, and then you have the sample size, that's the presentation on the field. And I think that's what concerns you most, Brendan.
Yeah. I'm feel like I don't want to talk anymore because I feel like for over a year I've said sort of the same thing. I'm not going to reiterate that. I think you and I were talking again on paper about this particular game. On paper, this game, Florida should win this game, no question. It shouldn't be a question. Miami in the swamp. You got a whole lot of new guys in the backfield. Or excuse me, so the safeties are gone. So you got a whole new, half a new secondary for Miami. You've got an untested SEC quarterback. Going to be playing in the swamp with helmet cam. I mean, you just might as well give them some acid and a bottle of whiskey and say good luck. I mean, I don't know how you win that. I don't think Miami has loaded enough at all to come win it. Now, the question I asked you when we got to this point today was, how does Miami win this game? And I think that's a question for everybody. And I'll start by saying that I think, you play to your strengths. You're going to want to play defense. If you win the toss, you're going to want to come after him on the defensive line, bring 7 guys. You want to get in, mess up the timing with Mertz and all these new guys. I think that's, in my opinion, if you're Miami and you're crystal ball and you come in here, that I think defense gives you a shot to win the game. But we're going to see an untested offensive line that's played together, by the way. I know they're healthy, but play together all the time, that are cohesive. As we know, offensive linemen and centers and all that stuff take a minute for all that chemistry to marinate and make good. So, David, I'll pass the ball to you. I think, you set tempo like everyone else is doing. How do you set tempo? You set tempo up front. You set it with defense. That's the only path to success I see Miami winning this game, other than, complete and total meltdown in Salt Lake. Other than that, I mean, I said this a year ago. So I'm holding my breath. I'm going with my best bet in my mind, but I did this a year ago and literally people sent me messages and told me that I was a liar and I didn't know what I was talking about, that Florida had no chance of winning in Utah. That's it. Pass the ball up to David.
Right. Well, before David, I kind of want to flip it, and I'm gonna give it to this David in this way. I think that people have, and this is not a slight on the Florida football program, Rob, David, Brendan, but I think the fact that they were historically bad on defense a year ago. So I think the assumption is because Miami has this great defensive line that they're going to just ransack the offensive line. But we know that if Florida would have been an average defense last year, they probably would have won 3 more football games. So I think, as we talk about the retooled offensive line, I think we forget that they have an experienced quarterback. There's experience at wide receiver in DK, Badger, Wilson, even though he's a young pup, has experience, a ton of snaps. And, you throw in Montrell Johnson or others if he plays, if he doesn't play, I think they're good there. I think that I think everybody talks about Cam Ward having a bad game. But based on what we saw a year ago, he could really have a really good game too as well, David. So I think that, the jury, for me, is out on the defense as opposed to this offensive line that everybody keeps focusing on.
I have 2 juries. I believe in the multi-jury system, and the jury's still being out.
Fair enough. We'll go Supreme Court and Court of Appeal.
Right. Yeah. And you can't look at the past 2 years and not have some skepticism about the defense. I mean, they've done what they needed to address it, I think, since the last court was in session. Let's put it that way. With starting off with Ron Roberts, I think he'll be a big help, and just the young guys getting experience and the guys they bought in the transfer portal. I think it is going to be a much improved defense, and the kind of defense that they had last year. They would have won 2 or 3 more games. That's what I think. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But so that's why, jury's still out, just based on the last 2 years. Florida fans were going in optimistic about turning it around and the defense and blah blah blah, and we saw what happened. Now I don't think that'll be the case this year, but I don't think we can just wipe those the last 18 games out of our memory banks and say full steam ahead, everything's cool. Again, I'm in the wait and see mode on that. Same with the other jury on the offensive line.
Right.
I think every other jury, can come back and say, okay, I'm feeling pretty good. I give the skill positions. I think they would come back innocent of any charges of being not capable. Special teams. I think the kickers themselves are fine. Between Crouchaw and Trace Mack, I think those guys can line up with any two kickers in the country.
They just got to get on the field, make sure everyone gets on the field.
It's just the stuff around them that, again, jury's still out.
What about the play clock? I mean,
we're talking.
You think the play clock is we're gonna get into that? I mean, I don't mean to jump the shark here, bro.
I don't think so. I mean, it could, but I mean, I think we talk about defense and Rob, and this is something that you can kind of clarify for us, since you know Ron Roberts from his Auburn days. What I saw last year was a defense that was disconnected, a defense that, and I'm not talking about disconnected just on game days, but I'm talking about it looked like Monday through Thursday, the plan just was not being executed properly. It was not being given to the guys on the team. It was not being facilitated, not practiced properly. And from what you know about Ron Roberts, is that something that he focuses on? Where does he make his money? Because I think not only you look at the additions like Asa Turner, is everybody's talking about him and some of the, even Aaron Childs and what he could do, a healthy Shamar James, LJ McCray. I mean, some of these guys that are going to be plug and play guys that I think can help right away. Pup at the linebacker spot. But where does Ron Roberts, what makes him that difference maker that he could be for the Florida football program, from what you know about the year that he spent at Auburn?
Well, just watching him in his career from Southeast Louisiana to when he was at Baylor, he was at Delta State. That creeper defense, it has one mission. It's to blow up, disrupt, mess up the timing rhythms of RPO offenses. So you better have an offensive line that can impose their will on your opponent, or he's going to make life miserable for you. Now, he's going to be working with, the defensive coordinator, but I think what he did at Auburn last year was not a lot of talent. He did have two, studs on the defensive line, but he did it. He kept Auburn in every game. I mean, like Auburn and Florida are trending so similarly. They were the Auburn, Alabama lost. Auburn, Georgia lost. The New Mexico State game, I mean, that was Friday the 13th horror show. That's horrible. But, you just look at games for both schools, they're losing a lot of close games. I think there's a lot of similarities. I'll throw another program at you. Nick Saban's first year, kind of like Billy Napier's first year, 7-6, lost to ULM. That next season, they had nobody drafted off of his first team. Okay. He probably wanted to get rid of half those kids, but he had to keep them. The next year with John Parker Wilson, same quarterback, a year experience. Remember what they did in the regular season? 12-0, lost to Florida in the SEC championship game. Billy Napier has learned from Dabo. He's learned from Nick Saban. So I think the lines of scrimmage, look at the similarities. You had Julio Jones out of Foley, Alabama, number one player in America. Well, where does DJ Lagway rank? Is he up there, top 1 or 2 or 3? And LJ McCray, as Coach Dye would say, is a full-grown man. He's going to play as a freshman. I don't say things ever to anybody to make them feel good. Just I don't do that. I believe, does the dress make me look fat? Yeah, it does. If it does, you got to tell people the truth. I think the Gators have to win, and the headline in some newspaper is going to be The Gators won because they had to. I like teams at home when they're desperate. And Florida it's always been a mystery to me. Florida is like a child of a billionaire who doesn't want to get up in the morning till 10 o'clock when he's 25. They have resources most schools could only dream of. Just my opinion.
Well,
like I said,
it ain't over till it's the fat lady sings in the dress.
Well,
yes,
and like coming back to
there, you should know.
I am.
Right.
I sleep until 10 at 9. I do this show. And I go back to bed.
I'm just saying. I think most people out here, trust me, Auburn and Alabama and Georgia would just crawl. I mean, to the state of Florida, 500,000 living alumni at the University of Florida, and for God's sakes, Florida, I'm just telling you, take care of your in-state alumni and the legacies. You're going to rue the day that you push away people. But I just think Florida, Billy Napier, the biggest controversy, and I learned so much watching y'all, offensive play calling. Gus would tell us every year, oh, I'm going to let somebody else do it. No, he wouldn't. I talked with somebody last night who talked to Bobby Petrino last year at the Ole Miss Texas A&M game. He said, is Jimbo letting you call plays? He goes, no. I'm not going to tell you who told me that, but he knows what he's talking about. You've got to let your coaches. You can't micromanage them. You got to let them coach, or they'll leave you.
Well, I'll say this about Billy Napier, and I've heard it from somebody who sat in on the meetings. He has his hand on everything in this program. He does, from the Gator Made program to the academics to everything that they're doing. And some of that stuff is spot on. You talk to guys like Austin Barber, Jaquavion Fraziers. I spent the whole spring with those guys, and the player experience has improved so much under Billy Napier. But it brings us back to what Brendan was saying, and I'll throw this to David. Is Billy, I mean, we know we got Rob Sale, offensive coordinator. We got Russ Callaway, co-offensive coordinator, who brings a lot of creativity. We saw, a few years back when he was at Samford and came in here. I mean, wasn't a great football team. They scored 50 points, had some razzle-dazzle, really, really stressed Florida with some eye candy, which forced the Gators to play a little bit undisciplined. But Billy still remains the primary play caller, and he's been big about that. I mean, I am going to call the plays. So, where is this now, and what role do you think Russ Callaway will really play, or is it just something that, it's in title only?
Well, that is a question that's been asked a lot to Billy, and we've yet to really get a good answer. Said Russ Callaway will have some impact, but we asked, so what, how exactly will it be delineated? Who will be ultimately calling the plays, and ultimately it will be Billy calling the plays. He'll be getting, I think, a lot of input from Russ Callaway, but he's the man. And in this situation, a lot of situations, be it football or whatever, when you ask one way to determine if it's a good move is you say, well, what does the rest of the industry that's successful do? How do they go about their business? And most of the industry, you got an offensive coordinator and a head coach. And, the offensive coordinator calls the plays, the head coach, especially in college. I mean, there's so much, as you said, there's so many facets to running a program now, that you got to spread yourself so thin that I just don't know if you can be as effective a play caller when you got a million other things. That's why, they're hiring GMs. I mean, nobody in college football, didn't need a GM 5 years ago. Now it's like, it's a must. And, Billy, but, he has confidence. He believes he's the best for the job. Again, jury's still out on that. They did, offense wasn't really the problem. Scoring points wasn't that big of a problem once they got rolling last year somewhat. I mean, they scored enough to win a lot of games. The defense gave up too many points. in some of those games. So I think that took some of the focus off it. But I still think he'd been better off if you just bring, whether it's Russ Callaway or somebody, you let him take care of it, and you have your input. But then you go about running the show and being the CEO of everything. I mean, that has worked for, it's worked a lot more than it hasn't worked for the top coaches.
Yeah.
Brendan, go ahead.
Because that's just too much, man. It's too much. My God, it's too much. It's been the problem since the first game last year and on and on and on. I really do. I feel like you did, David, earlier on. I'm just so tired of all the talk because there is so much about there's so much wait and see Gator out there right now. It is crazy because we have no clue. No clue. I mean, I don't care what anybody in the chat room says or anyone says they know. Nobody knows what team is coming to be out there in Miami. And we are all, if you're a Gator fan, you are holding your collective breath that it is better than it was. Because if you remember a year ago, whenever Billy came out in his first press conference, and we're stronger by this much. We got this much weight. We've been this much weight in the weight room. Blah, blah, blah. Now this year, it's the same kind of thing. We're this much faster in miles per hour. We're doing this. Look, I get it. Everyone's saying what they're supposed to say because nobody's talking, right? Nobody says a damn thing anyways. We don't know anything. We don't see anything. Rob and I do a show every single day. We talk to people around all the SEC, 9 a.m. Monday through Friday, by the way, right here on this network, SEC Sideline Sports. And we talk to media members from all 16 schools, and we hear what's going on. Like, there is a lot more access, and there's a lot more information of things that are going on. We are, again, right where we started last year. I hold my breath because the one thing I wanted was an offensive coordinator. Batman needs a Robin. Ham needs an egg. Urban Meyer needed Dan Mullen. Like, these guys matter. These things still matter. I don't care about everything else. And I'm done with all that. So thanks, Lauren. It's all your fault for getting me all pissed off.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think when you look at it, and there's two things. One, you have two programs that really are, like you said, I mean, Rob talked about Auburn and Florida, but really Miami and Florida are kind of trending in the same direction as well, because, you have some groups on paper that, they look good and it's flashy, and they got some guys, Miami has a great receiver. I mean, if you like receiver play, Xavier Restrepo is great in the slot. He's everything Eugene Wilson is. He's in the return game. I mean, all those guys, guys are going to be out there making plays, but it's going to come down to, does this football team show up and at least do the little things the right way? Like I keep telling people, everybody's talking about this twister mat and all those things. We talked about it last week. That everybody uses that. But the fact that it's a topic of discussion is an issue, Rob. And I mean, that's what we talk about, getting 11 guys on the field for every phase of the football game and then performing the way that they want to. You call your special teams unit the game changers, and Billy Napier said, well, on return yardage, we were tops, and we were top 50 in the country on, these type of things. But you call it the game changer, and it's not making any differences. So I think that's where, it's just the connection of it all. And I know that's maybe the way that Coach Napier wants it. And far be it for me to tell a man how to run his, multi-million-dollar program and things like that, because obviously, he's far more accomplished in that regard. But I think when you just look at it, when it comes down to the raw X's and O's, and you got 22 guys on the field, and one of them's got to go out there and make a play, I think that's where I think that's where the questions are, David. And I think when you talk about play calling, my only gripe has been the fact that I think that when it's time to be off schedule and the good ones come up with something on 3rd and 12 late in the game, the good ones come up with something on 2nd and 17 to get you to 3rd and 5. And it's those kind of things. So I guess my thing is to give Russ Callaway a little bit of play would he be somebody that could just bring a little something, even if
A
Billy's
little
the
sexy, just a little wrinkle, a little
yeah, a
something.
little wrinkle that would get us, even though that Napier's the one calling it. David, is he somebody that, I mean, we were there. He talked confidently. I mean, he talked like somebody that's in the know, that's gonna be part of this game planning process. But could that be a difference with him kind of taking on more of a role on his second year in the staff now?
Well, that's it. They obviously see something in him on how he is, his career path is just going like this since he's gotten there. So he's impressing the right people, and you want to give him that chance. You give him the rope to either hang himself or
got it.
excel him, and I think it is just so hard. Like like Brendan on his nice rant that I really enjoyed. It's just you just can't. I just don't know how a coach can devote as much time as need be strictly to offense. That's why you have an offensive coordinator to do that stuff. And you certainly have your input, but especially if you're an offensive coach. But there's so many other things going on in the circus, and you're the ringmaster, and you got to step back. And it's hard, it's like the old NRA things. I'll give up my gun when they pry my cold dead fingers off it. Billy's going to give up play calling. I think when they pry his cold dead fingers off it, I just hope it doesn't get to that point, where he's figuratively cold and dead as a coach in Florida.
Right. And I mean, I'll be honest. I think this football, I think offensively, and this is where Brendan, I think they have played, the offense has been good enough for the past 2 years. I go back once again to this historically bad defense, and I see Brendan down there. I know Brendan's like,
tell me how the offense is better.
Well, just on point production. You
lost your number one wide receiver to the NFL, the only draft pick.
Yeah,
right?
but
Trevor
but
Etienne, the running back, is now going to be playing at Georgia starting.
Well, I'll defer to better protection on that because he may have known he was transferring to Georgia the way he stepped up to block some of those linebackers when they played Georgia.
Okay, conspiracy theory guy. Thank you very much. I'm not buying that. That's not fact. I'm just saying. Tell me, I'm serious. How has Florida gotten better? In your opinion, I want to know. I just without an offensive coordinator, personnel wise, how do we know how this offensive line is going to gel together? How they're going to play together? I mean, there's a lot of what ifs. That's what I'm saying. There's no way to know. In my opinion, there's no way to know.
Well, no, absolutely. But I think the rub is that's the point is you don't know because just like somebody mentioned Nick Saban, you knew they were always going to be ready to play.
Yeah.
Steve Spurrier, you knew they were going to be ready to play.
Urban Meyer.
even most of the time. I mean, you could go down the line of coaches where they walked football teams out. I'm a big Pat Dye guy. You knew they were going to be ready to play. I mean, and I know we're going way back, but even here recently, I mean, guys like, there's certain teams that no matter what, they're going to buckle up and be ready to play football. But I think a lot has been, I think it's, you can look at it one of two different ways, in my opinion. The offensive line could be improved. I don't think, I think they've replaced Ricky Pearsall, in my opinion, with three guys. I think they've got three guys that, Eugene Wilson, Chimera DK, and Elijah Badger are, and I think they're 1.5 of Ricky Pearsall. So you got a Ricky Pearsall plus a half. So I'm not worried about that. Plus they got the GOAT coaching them. So that I'm not concerned about. I think when a lot of people talk about the receivers, he's the GOAT.
Billy
but I think, in this game, you got to stop people. And 7 turnovers a season ago. 7. I don't think, we could talk about how this game is going to break down. If they don't force Cam Ward or others to make mistakes and get some short fields, it's going to be tough. They have to force some havoc in this game, Rob. I think, and that's what's been missing the last 2 seasons is they haven't created meaningful turnovers in games where where you say, man, they dominated that opponent. Even the Utah game where he stepped up and made some plays. I mean, it was just a bad, throw in a lot of ways. It wasn't like, hey, let's force the action a little bit. I mean, there was some, but I think that's where this and that's what I'm talking about. I think offensively they have the weapons. They're going to score points. The problem is, will they be able to keep the other team from scoring just as many?
Y'all are talking about offensive play calling. Okay, let's think of the best head coaches who also called plays in recent history. Chip Kelly, a smug, unhappy man, a little man. He was very successful. Very unhappy, an angry man. Yeah. Okay, there's a handful of them. Okay, and I'll say that Kevin Steele, I think, is one of the best defensive coordinators around. I will put on Mount Rushmore of defensive coordinators, definitely Brother Oliver out of Epps, Alabama, over in the Black Belt. He's the best. But Kevin Steele, before a game at Auburn a few years ago, he said, and I can't use the language on this show, women and children are listening, but he was talking about adversity. And he said, God, he goes, get after him. He said, we are their adversity. He goes, I want those offensive linemen across the field waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning with nightmares about 5-6 guys coming at them from all sides. That's what a head coach can do. I'm with David, though. If you're the CEO, you also have a CFO and a chief operating officer. And I made the reference, and somebody got a good case of the red ass that's watching the show, about a billionaire's son. In 33 years as a financial advisor, managing people's money and working with families, it's almost a curse for so many people when they have everything in the world and they can't get their kids motivated. I'm just saying, Florida recruiting, number 1 or 2 in the country every year. They have the best athletes. I think this year, Billy Napier, he's coaching for his life. I think he's hungry. And, you've got the portal, but you've also got some leaders on this team. I think Danny Warfel is in the background. I think he's having a huge influence on Graham Mertz. And I think y'all know this Gator program inside out. I think DJ Lagway will play a role, but if you can't get offensive line protection, last year the Gators were 5-2. Their class for recruiting was ranked 5th in the country. They lost those last 5 games and ended up with the 15th class and lost some big guys, but they still finished 15th. What does that tell you? Even bumbling like the Three Stooges, like they did those last 5 games, they still finished 15th in the country in recruiting. David Whitley said it best on this show, you and Tony Barnhart. It's pretty much idiot-proof college football. And Florida, just show the progress, discernible progress. Beat Miami, get up there 4-1, 5-0 to Knoxville. Look, right now you look at Knoxville and you say, oh, my God, logo fever gets you. Hey, if you go up there 5-0, anything is on the table, man. Anything. Yeah.
It's on
because it ain't the doing in life that's so bad. It's the dreading. Let's play ball.
Right.
And Tennessee is the one rival that Napier's beaten.
Yeah.
Y'all
stomped them last year.
Which half?
It in a vault.
There's two halves. The first half he won. The second half was
I watched it with a bunch of balls.
Hang on.
We're gonna start shutting down that. We're gonna conservative.
So,
double tight. Let's run.
Oh, Audrey's giving me the evil eye now.
So as we kind of get we coming down to about the last 5-6 minutes.
Cristobal, by the way, I'm sorry, but Cristobal and Napier, they both have the same style of play calling. It's just like let's just run, hand off, let's run, let's go, smash mouth. That's what we're gonna see. Lots of runs.
But Cristobal don't call play. Shannon Dawson.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, style wise, if
right.
you look back, that's his. He likes to run the ball. I mean, no question. He said it recently. He likes to come out and run the football. I mean, what coach doesn't want to dominate line of scrimmage? I mean, I get it, but I mean, that's Billy's thing too. I don't know. I would be so happy as the owner of Gatorade Media and Gator Magazine if the Gators have a fantastic season. As a Gator fan, I would love that to happen as well. Just show some progress. But I don't know. I'm getting very nervous because I think this game really is going to set the tempo. it's really going to say, to me, it's going to be the bellwether, the canary in the coal mine. We're really going to see because if Billy goes out and the Gators go out and they do a big fat, loss at home in the swamp, I'm just saying, hypothetically, that is not a good look for the rest of the season, at least for the next couple of games.
Right. Well, and I mean, here it is. So, as we
and I have a right to say that I'm sorry because I'm traumatized from being with you a year ago in Utah. So I have a right to say that. Okay, thank you very much.
That's true. We were there together. So I do want to address a couple things. Number one, and not address it, but there's some comments here. Yes, LJ and DJ LJ McCray, DJ, they're going to be ballers, but you're going to see more of LJ than you are DJ, I think, in this short sample size as we go forward. But when we look at the rosters and we look at the position matchups, I want to go around, David, you first, and then Rob, from what you know about both programs. Give me where you feel like Miami would have an advantage, and we're talking X and O's, and then where Florida has an advantage. And then, Rob, you do the same.
I think pretty obvious Miami should have an advantage defensive line against Florida's offensive line. And that is why I'm leaning for Miami. I just, I'm in that skeptical mode still till I see it.
I know. I feel you, brother. I feel you. That's
right
now.
Yeah, because that'll control so much of the game. If they can disrupt whatever Florida has. So I think Florida's offense will be pretty good. I believe in Mertz stuff, and I think the skill guys that they've replaced Pearsall pretty well. I mean, Eugene Wilson, he needs to get the ball about 70 times a game. If they get the ball to him every play, if I was a offensive coordinator, and we're bringing in the Animals Act now.
Oh, he gets a little paranoid with the Thunder.
Talking about
rain coming in.
And we all
got the animal.
He gets nervous. I got to get his little rain blanket for him. He gets nervous. I got to look out for him.
Yeah, I think that is we're going to find out quickly. Whoever Miami should, if they win the toss, and defer, get their defense out there, and we'll see pretty soon what's what.
Now, where do you have advantage, Florida, if anywhere?
If over Miami, maybe secondary, because I think the secondary's really gotten better. And with the guys they bought in, and I'm a big Jordan Castile fan, because I think he's just a natural back there, starting as a freshman, and he's improved from that. So I think they're going to be much better back there too, and and the coaching I think is better back there.
Okay,
Robert.
Yeah, looking at Miami, I mean, Restrepo's a hell of a receiver, had over 1,000 yards last year.
Yeah,
Martinez, the transfer, coming in via the portal. I wouldn't be surprised they don't give him the ball 30 times, 35 times. It's going to be a man's game. Strap it up. It's going to be one on the line of scrimmage. And Cam Ward, he's a mobile quarterback. I was kidding about the 7-on-7 league. No conference had better quarterbacks than the Pac-12 last year. If Florida can't slow down, and that's what Ron Roberts' defense does, is it disrupts timing patterns and tempo. If they can't do that, they'll get blown out of their own stadium because Miami is coming in with a chip on their shoulder. But then again, Florida's coming out fighting for their lives. And again, David, you get to go to practice. Lauren, Brendan, you're there.
No.
How much do those guys love Billy Napier? How much do those players love each other? Because, if you don't – Kirby Smart talked about this at Media Days. They're bored at Georgia. Let's be honest. I mean, they hadn't lost a regular season game since back in 2020. So they went to the leadership school of Nike, where you learn everything about every teammate you've got, hometown, height, weight, college major, hobbies, dogs' names, where they were born, whatever. He goes, you better know where that man on your left or right, what he stands for, what he believes in. That really, it's about Florida coming out. And I know it's at home, but I love picking games and lines. You got to be just neutral on that and just say, who's got the better team? Because it's going to be won or lost on the field. But there are places where home field advantage is a big deal, and it is at Florida. David Whitley's right. Yeah. It's worth a damn touchdown. But that doesn't mean you can still lose 31-7. You got to do your part, and you got to blow up, disrupt enough Miami's three big guys, Restrepo, Cam Ward, and Martinez. That's what I'm concerned about. But I like Florida. I think Florida will defensively have an edge. Pass rush is going to be everything. But Mario Cristobal, I've never thought he was a great coach. He's more of a great recruiter, not a great coach. So neither one of these guys are going to get 5 stars as great X's and O guys during the games. And it just depends on the game plan Billy Napier has. It better have a lot of options.
Well, I'm going to say this. I think that, when you talk about the secondary, David, and the advantage there, I think Asa Turner is going to play heavy in this game for a couple reasons. One, a lot of people, the familiarity. He's played Cam Ward twice, been in the meetings when they were game planning for him at Washington, and he was at Washington State. And Cam Ward's 0-2 in the Apple Cup at Washington State, and Asa Turner had really good games. Yeah. So there's some confidence there that I think will help. And like you mentioned, Castile, and it's been written how the influence that he's had on Jordan Castile and what that secondary could be. We talk about Will Harris, kind of maybe an upgrade there, in the coaching department. And, Jason Marshall Jr. talked about his confidence, coming back in the spring and things like that, because they're going to need all those guys. Because you mentioned Restrepo, they got Jacoby George that kind of complements Restrepo a little bit. So I think that's one of the things that, that's another play that a lot of people aren't talking about, because so much has been made about the defensive line versus the offensive line, the play calling, the quarterbacks. But I think that game on the perimeter, that game out on the edges, so to speak, that perimeter game is going to be something to look at as well. So, I think that's where, when you look at it as the whole thing is, can Florida eliminate those explosive plays that just killed them last year? And they got some guys, and they're going to have to play big, So, as we get ready to leave and this thing is about, was it, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I mean, we're about
84 hours away from the start.
Yeah, but however you want to do
counting?
it. Yeah, who's got? I got a countdown clock actually. 3 days, 17 hours, 23 minutes, and 37
Cam
seconds.
Ward has never seen a pass rush like what he's going to see Saturday. He hasn't seen it in the Pac-12, and he has not seen it in practice. How he handles this on the road says everything about him. So that's why I still like Florida to cover at home and win.
No,
Dave, pardon shot.
Pardon shot. I got till I see it. I got to go. I'm skeptical about that line and Miami's defense. I got to go Miami 24-21. But it is only 5 days till hunting season in Alabama, right, Rob? So then,
Tennessee dove season starts Sunday.
Okay. Yeah.
September 1st, September 7th in Arkansas.
So the sun will come up Sunday for hunting.
Yes.
Yeah. I will say Florida lines up, and Florida gets after it. They're up maybe 5 or 6 late, and Andres Borregales, the Lou Groza watch list guy, lines up for a field goal. The swamp is rocking, and does he make it? Does he not make it? And that'll dictate maybe where this thing goes. So I think it's going to be one of those things. I think it's going to be sloppier than people are going to expect. I don't know why, but I got sloppy vibes. So if that's where this thing goes. But I want to thank you guys for being on. This has been great.
Oh, you just don't want my opinion? That's cool.
What's that?
That's fine. I don't want to pick it anyways.
I don't like your
stupid game.
You want to rant some more? What you got, Brendan? What you got? Give me a
score. I
think Florida wins this game. I think Florida wins this game, and I think they win it handily. I think Miami is not very good at all, and I think Florida is going to be ready for this game. I think like David said, I think the swamp is worth 14 easy all day with new helmet things going on in your head. I think that's going to make a mess.
You're still going to have hand signals, though. I mean, if we talk,
I know, yeah, but even hand signals in the swamp are loud. Like I'm on those sidelines, it is loud. When it gets loud, it is loud. You can't even hear yourself think. It's going to be lit. It's going to be hot. This is going to be hot, by the way.
Right.
Real
so let me
hot.
ask you this, Brendan, and then we'll leave on this one. If you feel so strongly, what will be the difference from what we? What will make the difference from what we saw at Utah?
I think defense and coaching and defense. I think that will make the difference. I think the defense wasn't as bad as the record, right? I thought they had some good guys. I thought the coaching was lackluster on defense last year. I think that has been fixed. So, and the size in the secondary. I think Florida's bigger, faster, stronger. That was an issue last year. Guys getting behind them. I think the work. I think defense. I think we'll be. I think the offense struggles. I think there's like you said, some sloppiness first game of the year type of stuff. A lot of new stuff there from playing football. It's hard to. You need a couple games to gel. I think defense holds big and shuts down. Miami. I think this game's a blowout.
David, what you got cooking tomorrow?
Actually, the announcement today that they're welcoming back that 1984 team. Finally, they're recognizing it. The first team to ever win an SEC championship on the field, and then it's taken away, and all that went back. And so I talked to a couple of players on that team, and I got to be honest, they feel they've been shafted over the years and neglected by the program. And after 40 years, they're going to be honored at homecoming this year. And long overdue.
Absolutely.
Long overdue.
Rob, who you got tomorrow?
We got Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, Will Gunner, South Carolina over in Columbia, Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, Vince Ferrara, the sports animal in Knoxville. And at some point in every show, we like to say, we will say something good, bad, or ugly about the 16 teams. I love this discussion. Because David's chomping at the bits. He's so ready, and everybody on this panel.
David wants his cookies and milk, is what David.
But I do want to see Florida win because, damn it, they're in the SEC, and I'm with you. Miami has never won the ACC. They've never done it, but doesn't mean they can't win it this year. But it's going to come down to who wants it the most, and that swamp crowd, every Florida fan that's there, bring your keys and shake them and rattle. Make it so loud that...
See, clearly, Rob, you're not from Florida. The keys get way too hot. It's
right. Well,
you can't things in your pocket. They stick
like it's not hot everything. Where I am. Bro, oh my God!
Bro, no, you're gonna come to the swamp, Rob.
I am.
Yeah,
I love
you're
it.
Gonna
I've been
be like, this is why it's called the swamp.
How's Cam Ward gonna handle the humidity versus the Apple Cup? Come on.
Well, I'll end on this. With that 84 team, I mean, you got David Whitley and you got Buddy Martin writing about them on GatorbaitMedia.com. Shows you how important that team was, and now they're finally getting their due. So we'll end on that. Congratulations to those guys. Homecoming is a great opportunity to honor that team. And like I said, when you got heavy hitters like David Whitley and Buddy Martin with GatorbaitMedia.com writing about that, I mean, you just can't go wrong. So
they gonna give them rings
tonight? Was that
rings?
Are they gonna give them rings?
They had the rings, SEC championship, and before they took them back.
Good.
Yeah. So
and give Florida the 1990 championship too.
Yeah. Hey,
that was
Spurrier's ready.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
Well,
Steve, like you see it.
Coach definitely keeps that one alive for sure. Yeah. So, well, thanks for joining us on this Tuesday edition of the Buddy Martin Show. I'm Lauren Meadows. Read me in GatorbaitMedia.com. We'll have our pregame analysis going on. Rob Brown with SEC Sideline Sports. David Whitley, Gainesville Sun, and
just
Brendan Martin.
Jack.
My man.
Just Brendan.
The brains behind it all.
I'll see you all soon because I do every show. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for having us, man. Be careful, Sammy.